Hi, everyone. Agnes here. I have got a creative, meaningful work interview for you today, and it's with Peter Hurley in New York. Hello, Peter.
Hey, Agnes, how are you?
Good, good.
Thanks for
Thank you
having
for
me on.
hopping on. Yes. It's you and I met only recently in a roundabout way. We have a mutual person that we are both, well, you've been working with her for a while and I'm just about to, and we just connected. And I thought, creative person, meaningful work, has a business, making money. And the big thing that I hear so often about creative people is the belief creative people don't make money. So I thought perhaps we can talk about that. And also, what were you doing before? And then share where you're up to now. It's a little bit of a chronological timeline.
For sure. I like that. I basically, like you said, I'm a portrait photographer in New York City. I picked up a camera in 2000. So it was, 23 years now. I can't believe it flew by. And
Yeah.
I didn't consider myself creative. I just didn't even think that I had a really hard time calling myself an artist for a really long time. And then I realized, wait, I'm not making any money. I'm an artist, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just used the camera for my art. So I got very fortunate that I was a horrible actor. So I was trying to make this acting thing work, and I was a model actor bartender, and I was like, you know what? I really don't want to be in the bar anymore. So I should I've watched these photographers take pictures of my friends. I said I should just take pictures of my friends, and maybe it'll get me out of a bar. And that was really the all I was going for. I didn't have any other aspiration other than that. I did not want to bartend anymore. And then I thought it'll allow me to act. And then anyway, I had a horrible story happen where I got on the set of this soap opera, and they filmed like one of the scenes. I thought they filmed it, but nobody talks to you on these soap operas. And I ended up leaving, and my manager calls me, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I don't know. I filmed the scene. Nobody talked to me," and I left. And she goes, "That was the rehearsal." I was like, well, should I go back? No, they hate you. They don't want you back. And that was the end. I was like, this is a sign. I got to quit acting. I'm terrible. So I quit,
Yeah.
and I fell in love with the camera. And then I said, okay, now we got to figure out how to make this thing make money. I'm not going to be. I don't have the celebrity dream is gone. What am I going to do? And that's when I was actually just fortunate, because the photographers I decided, since I was an actor, I was going to do headshots. And when I looked at all the headshot photographers in New York, the top ones were charging like $1,000 for a headshot session. And I
Okay.
was like, wow. I was like, that would be cool. Meanwhile, I was like, where do I start? And I remember I started at like $250 a session. I was like, I'll be a quarter of the price of the big time people.
Yeah.
But one time I'm going to get there. And that's what I strove for. But they already created that price point. So for me to get there, I already had a roadmap in front of me. I just knew I had to be as good as them. And I actually got there and got beyond that. And now I'm considered globally the leader in the headshot industry. So it's been interesting. But yeah, it didn't start all
rosy.
great shakes. No.
Yeah.
And you know what? The other thing is that as an artist, I finally got around to calling myself an artist and understanding that I am an artist. But I did not know that I had to have a business hat as well. Like I was a bartender and an actor. I used to deliver beer in the summer for Coors, I never had a job. I was like a responsibility. So you know how that goes.
So before you were bartending, acting, did you have you've got kids now. Before you had the kids, what were you doing just for money to keep yourself afloat?
Well, I was at the time. So the real story was I was training for the Olympics for a while for sailing. And while I was sailing, this photographer saw me, and I got a job for Ralph Lauren. So I did this ad for Ralph Lauren. I'd never modeled before, but then I had all these pictures that were in magazines all over the world. So I went into the agency, and they were like, "No, we don't like you. You can't do this." I was like, they're like, "You can't do it." And I was like, "Yeah, but the pictures are everywhere. Like, why can't I do it?" And I did get paid for that job. And then the photographer on the job, who was Bruce Weber, and I became friends. And he's like, "Okay, I'll send you to somebody else." He sent me somewhere else. And then I went there. And then I realized this rabbit hole was going downhill fast, because I wasn't as good looking as most of the other guys that were going for the jobs that I was. So it was a hard path. And it was during that time that an agent sent me to a soap opera, and the casting director said, "Look, we're going to put you on the show, but you got to get in an acting class." So I started acting. Meanwhile, that was during the first quadrennium that I failed to make the U.S. sailing team. I quit and decided I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to be this big time model and actor. Well, and then in the midst of that, I was like, what am I doing? I have this gift of sailing. I should go sail. And then I quit, and I uprooted myself, and I went and sailed. And there was a U.S. sailing center in Miami. And I went there, and I told my agent, send me out on some jobs if I can get them. And I was out on a casting, and this girl was really beautiful behind me. And I started talking to her, and then we ended up getting married, and I had kids with her. So she was very famous. She was very, I wouldn't say famous. She was from Venezuela. And she is from Venezuela, and she was doing very well in Venezuela. And then she came to Miami to work. So when we got to, so I asked her to move in with me in New York, and I couldn't rub two nickels together. So my brother, who was the successful one, had an apartment on the Upper West Side, and he said, "I got an extra bedroom." I said, "Can I move myself in there with my girlfriend?" And he was like, "You could pay utilities. It's fine." I was like, "Good." So 6 months of that, and he walks up to me one day, and this is like one of the, I don't know if everybody out there has siblings, but he's the older brother. He's the successful one. I'm the middle of three, and he's taken care of me my entire life. And he's the finance guy who, like, he was throwing me a bone by letting me stay there, and we were trying to make it. And one day, 6 months later, I never forget this. My brother has had my back my entire life. He says to me, "You're a loser." What are you doing here? Like, you can't even pay utilities. Like, you're a mess. And I refused not to go in the bar. So I was like, I don't want to go bartend. Yeah. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, had started working in New York. So I was like, all right, you're making money. I got to figure out how to make money. And I had just started shooting in my brother's like living room. And I said, I really need a window, because I didn't have money for lights that were very good. So I was like, I need a window that has light. So I just want an apartment that faces south and gets light. And that was it. I started my whole career. We moved into this apartment on the 27th floor of this building. It looked downtown, and we moved in February of 2001. And unfortunately, it looked right downtown. So September 11th, I was looking out the window. My brother calls me, he goes, "Look out your window." And everything happened in front of me, which was unreal. But I had this beautiful light and this beautiful it was a studio, tiny studio apartment. And I just started photographing actors there. And that was how it started. So I didn't really make ends meet. I was fortunate that my wife was doing okay, and we made it through that time period. But I'll tell you what, when she got pregnant, and then I was not ready to even have one. And then we found out it was twins, and I freaked out. And she said, "Don't worry, there's this Venezuelan saying or something that kids come with bread under their arm." And I was like, if any of you have ever been an artist and like not made ends meet and living on floors in or shitty places or whatever, and then you get into that situation, it lights a fire under your ass. That's for sure.
Yeah. Wow. And your kids now are? I spoke
20.
to them the other 20. Yeah. Wow. So you've obviously done reasonably well keeping the finances afloat to keep them fed for that long. You must have done okay.
Yeah, I feel fortunate. I coach photographers all over the place now, and I always say I just feel fortunate that people get in front of my camera, I press the button, and I get paid for it. It's just for me, it's the coolest job. It's just so great.
Yeah. And what does your brother say now?
Oh, I think everybody's blown away by what I was able to accomplish. But I guess I think that I don't know what people think about my, everybody in my family or around me who had seen the progression of this is very proud of me, and I think that they just know personality wise I'm very driven. I think I took the Olympic athlete in me and said, all right, I'm going to make this freaking camera thing work, and it just happened that it turned out great. Yeah.
And I think hearing your story, it's quite a common thing to be creative. You start with one thing and then something happens, doesn't work out, or it's the wrong timing in the world, or something happens globally. And then you go, okay, now what am I going to do? And you look for the next creative pursuit, and then you see what you can do with that. And then again, is there a fork in the road? Sometimes it's just, I'm bored, I'm sick of this, I need to do something else. Other times it's external factors affecting it. So it's I just think it's remarkable. It's like you've got obviously a wonderful wife, twins, and a business that you love. So you've kind of manifested what a lot of people want, which is, as you know, a lot of people hate their jobs. A lot of people complain about having not enough money. And for me, in my job, what I hear, 80% of the work I do is I can't find the right relationship, and my relationship's not working. So you've hit the trifecta.
I feel very lucky about that. Yeah. Finding the right person was a huge part of that. I couldn't do what I do business wise without her either. Like the whole story, I would have never been able to build this. This would have never happened. And I did not have the support of people around me. You know how creatives go, oh, I want to go do this. I want to go be a photographer. What do you think everybody around? They're like, what? No, go work for your brother. He's a successful one. We get that.
Or they roll their eyes and they go, what scheme have you got going on this time? They just look at you with that look of, here we go again. So can you talk a bit about the mindset? Like when you were at your brother's and he says, you're a loser, you can't even pay the utilities. What were you thinking about that shifted you? Well, I mean, this sounds like it was a turtle journey. It wasn't a rabbit journey. It happened over time. Yeah. What do you think you changed in how you think about things?
Well, I think everybody in life, you have people that show up to teach you something, and they either push you forward or they try and pull you back, and they teach you something, whether they're trying to pull you back or push you forward. And I've had these people in my life that have, like, my life's been going one direction, and I meet these people and something happens and it just goes, whoa, I'm going over here now. And that was what it was like when I picked up a camera. It was also like that. I met a personal development coach named Bob Proctor who started coaching me, and I started listening to him. I never knew that I was setting goals for myself and trying to accomplish things. I just didn't know that. And he put a framework in place for me to start my business and kind of work on it like that. So I really relied on those ideas. And then once the ball got rolling, I forgot about it. And I just was so focused on becoming successful and making the money from what I was doing. And then I think as the years went by and I had that success, I was like, okay, now I'm just in like a hamster wheel, and I'm like in a comfort zone. Everything was fine. And I had actually stopped doing the personal development work for a while because I was so busy and things were so good that I was like, I'm fine. I don't need to look at this. And then I got to this point where I was like, I need a revamp. I need something. And I ended up after like 8 years of not studying with Bob, I ended up taking a coaching program with him for a year. And then that changed everything and shifted my perspective on things. So I think it was a little bit of help from other people. There's also a lot that's built in. I think that, when and if you have kids out there, that there's so much that's built into them when you're raising them. You're like, I had nothing to do with that. That was my doing. And I have twins and they're so different. So I think each one of us has stuff built into us that drives us toward our own kind of success. And if you key in on something that actually meshes with that perfectly, you can be off to the races without anybody needing anybody or anything. But I think the one thing that you do need is something that fires you up. And I had the thing. I love photography. You know, I wanted more people in front of my camera. Don't feel like I work. I'm sitting in my studio right now and I'm just like, I just love being here. I haven't been back here. I was off. I just was traveling and came back, and I just walk into this place and it's like my domain, you know. I love it.
Yeah.
So it's very fortunate, and it's very I just think that a lot of people don't take the opportunities that are in front of them and go for it. And I just always was fortunate enough to be like, I'm just going for it. I don't care what anybody thinks, and I'm just doing what I'm doing. And I don't think that society allows us to be able to do that easily. And some
Yes.
people can't. And we get, you know, and I get it all the time, because a lot of people, photography is their dream, but they got sidetracked. They were the high school photographer. They did the yearbook. Then they got into corporate America. They went to college. They did everything their parents wanted them to do. They had a successful career, and they're now like 50 or whatever, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I coach people into their 80s now. And they're like, I really loved photography and I put it down. I want to pick it up. And then they come to me and I get to work with them, and they're so happy, and it's so cool. You know, it's really, really cool.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Is it, are you, okay, you said you teach people photography, and you do like 1, 2, or 3 days, because you and I talked about that.
Yeah.
Are you also photographing for certain things like people's CVs, or what, or for acting roles? What do you have people in front of you, and what are you photographing when you're photographing?
I photograph all the time anybody who needs, you know, a portrait of themselves. So my specialty is headshot photography. So I do a lot of corporate headshots and stuff like that. I started out with only actors.
Okay.
And now my rate's a little bit high for most of the acting community. So I don't shoot as many actors unless they're, you know, really want to work with me. For instance, I'm traveling. I'm teaching a workshop this weekend, and then Monday, right after the workshop, I've got to go to Toronto for a shoot. I'm shooting for a Fortune 500 company that I'm shooting their CEO and some product for some different photography for them, which is super cool, which I love to do. So I think that there's a lot of this in any industry, I guess, but where in the photo industry, some of the photographers go out to pasture to go teach, and I'm not one of them. I really like being like in the mix, and I like learning, and I like the fact that I've got a global team of photographers behind me, because the system that I use, it's based on headshot photography, and it's called headshotcrew.com. I think I have my anyway. Yeah, and we have photographers all over the world, and I coach them, and I give them job referrals that come through our website and things of that nature. And then I get to go travel all over the world and have support of my team. So I'm going to Toronto for this job, and I've got 2 headshot crew members. My actually assistant who helps me run the site lives in Toronto anyway. So he's assisting me. Another headshot crew photographer is assisting me. And then I'm going over to Europe in the summer, and I've got, you know, a team. I've got a bunch of people in Amsterdam help me, Zurich. I'm going to go do that. I've done the workshop all over the world. I've done it in London a number of times, and I have one of my other guys who helps me with the site with our portrait track is a portrait photographer who lives in London. So it's a global community. It's really fun to get the support of them wherever I go.
So is Headshot like a umbrella franchise? Is it a franchise?
No, it's just
it's a company.
They can join. Yeah, Headshot Crew is headshotcrew.com. And it's a crew. I named it after sailing because I'm a sailor and I have my crew. So there's
okay, I get it.
There's 20,000 photographers that have registered for the site. And then there's a coaching program that they can pay for, and they can either be in the photographer search or not. So if they want to get coached by me, they pay a subscription, or they come to one of my workshops, which I do. I just did the one in Houston. Now I'm doing the one in New York. I do them all over the US, and I do them globally as well when I'm traveling, but it just depends.
That's so great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. 20,000 people.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. There's a lot of photographers out there.
Yeah, yeah, it's that's terrific. And connecting with like-minded, your flock. We need to be amongst our flock.
Yeah,
It
and
helps.
oh, I love that. I never heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, people used to say their tribe. I like flock.
yeah, yeah. That's more of an Australian thing, I
I
think.
like that. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so inspiring. And I know, a lot of the people that watch this channel, they are looking at their job situations. They're looking at what can I do, and how to move into more what we want to do. And I think it's, hearing your beginnings of how the beginnings were a bit rocky, and you were not really, you're trying for this, that doesn't work. You're trying for this, it doesn't work. This doesn't, the whole thing about what you were saying about the modeling and then the acting, it's like, okay, all these doors are kind of slamming in my face, or I'm not doing extremely well. What else can I do? I mean, the fact that you kept thinking about other things and expanding, and it's so interesting because my journey is quite similar to yours. Lots of different creative things, and then you're getting older, and then you're thinking, okay, what am I going to do that actually, starts to bear some fruit as I turn 40, 50 and on. And I think that's such an inspiring story. Did you ever feel like, oh, I'm not good enough along the way, or am I ever going to make it, or is this ever going to do anything financially for me? Did you have a lot of doubt?
I would say that I had a deep belief in myself and being able to accomplish it, but I doubted my way to the top. Be
Mm.
like, it wasn't doubt in like that I could do it. It was doubt of how is it going to happen?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
really knew. I think that that's one thing that I've noticed out of people that are very successful and driven is that they believe in themselves more than others, and they don't stop when the things go
Yeah.
go the wrong way. And I think all the things that happened to me that went the wrong way, if I look back at them, it was like lining me up for this. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I get that question a lot. If I get interviewed, a lot of people say, "Well, what would you go back and tell your former self about what happened?" And I'd be like, "Stop worrying. Like stop
Yeah.
doubt. Like you did it. It happened. Like stop that. Like why did you doubt your way to the top?" And what
Yeah.
was I doubting? It was like little things. It was never the belief in my ability or what I could accomplish or that I had a special gift of photographing people. I always felt I had that. I still feel to this day that I've been very
Mm.
fortunate to have there's something in what I've been given that helps me there. But it was still the doubt and everything. And then the other thing is that I only had one source of income. I think that Bob Proctor really changed my life completely when he said, I went to I was working with him, and I started doing the multiple source of income thing. So I was like, okay, I only had the ability. So I had to have somebody in front of my camera and press the button and get paid by them to make any income.
Yeah.
And that was it. So if the studio didn't have somebody in it, I was in trouble. So I needed to figure out other things. And that was when he really pushed me towards that. And years later, we ended up getting together and I did some work for him. And he asked me to come speak with him at some stuff. And so he's talking to me in front of this room of like 100 people. And he says, "Peter, how many sources of income do you had?" And I was all proud. And I was like, "Bob, I got 8." And Bob goes, "You should have 800." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So, but he was right. Those 8 changed my life,
Yeah.
having more than that one. So I think as creatives, the most artists think that one thing that they create is the one source. But I always coach my people to figure out, yes, there's that one source, but figure out other ways. And sometimes with photographers, it's stretching your genre. Like I shoot headshots and I concentrate on headshots, but some photographers shoot landscapes and get paid for that. I don't know how to get paid for shooting a landscape, so I don't do it. But there's things like that. But for me, it was about and I was looking outside photography. When I actually looked at the photo industry is when everything came together. When I was spreading myself into areas that I didn't care about, and I was just
Yeah.
looking for another source of, I needed money.
Yeah.
I was like, it didn't work. It never felt right. It never worked. So when I started the teaching, that felt right to me. I had never taught anything before, but I was
Uh-huh.
like, I'm very good at this. And I was like, well, I had never taught photography and I never took a photography class, but I was like, I'm going to teach what I do. And,
Yes.
I was one of those teachers that was like, I was a sailing instructor. So I was like, I could teach people how to sail. I could teach them how to photograph the way I photograph. And then people would ask me questions that are technical photography questions, and I wouldn't know the answer. I'd be like, I don't know. I never took a photo course. I'm just telling you how I made my living. Like, this is my recipe. Like this, I don't know the rules, and it worked. And people listened, and they liked it, and then they would throw me up on stage, and I talk like that. And that's one of the things that I feel is people get stuck. There should be no rules. Like I make up words and rules, and I don't even know what the rules are. And it's just when you're in a creative space, which a lot of people watching this obviously are, it's just so fun because it is. You need to do fuck the rules,
Yes. Yeah, I know. And it's like you say, someone asks you a question, you go, oh, I don't know anything about that. Instead of pretending that you do or whatever, it's like, no, I don't know about that. And you're just honest about it. I think that's brilliant.
I get the worst drilling online about that I don't know the answers to photography things. And I'm like, I make more money than you.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're complaining. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You can know the answer technically, go for it, but I'm all right.
Yeah. Well, you can't know everything about your industry, especially with you, because the tech involved is always evolving as well. So it's like you can't keep up with everything.
Yeah.
So can you tell me, I'm intrigued, 8 sources of income. Can you tell us what they all are?
I mean, I probably have a lot more than that now. Yeah. So I would say I'm a photographer, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach. So I have in my coaching program, there's 1,400 people that pay my subscription service. So, and then I have workshops that I do. So I look at them as different buckets. I guess it's still teaching, but I have a income from a product, which we spoke about, which is my my workshops, which I go around the world teaching.
Yeah.
I have an ongoing coaching service that goes every day. We use Zoom. I'm on Zoom every day. I was just on Zoom before I got on with you. Like, it's like zooming up the wazoo.
Yeah.
I'm an author. I wrote the book on headshots. I also photograph. I have a team under me that photographs. So at different price points that I basically set them up with those jobs and make a portion of the proceeds for whatever the work they're doing. I have made photography products, so I'm being lit by a light right now that I made that I sell through a photography lighting company that I work with. Mostly everything is photo related. I still do get checks from a movie that I did in 2003 with Sandra Bullock and Hugh Grant. I did this movie. I was in this scene and I get these checks and I was like, this is I still make money off this acting thing that I did in 2003 or whenever it was. And I still get checks for royalties. So there's another source. So it doesn't matter how little it is or what it is.
Yeah.
You have these little sources going on. But yeah, I'm always looking for what the next thing to generate revenue is. I also have affiliate programs with a bunch of photo related companies that pay me for income for sending people toward their product and stuff like that. So there's just a number of different things. But I'll tell you what, to find one that you love and that keeps like the next thing. And for Bob in being back in my brain, unfortunately we lost him a year ago. So it's been interesting. But that 8 to 800 thing, I certainly haven't made 800 yet, but I definitely got more than 8. But I should, after I get up, I should really see what I've gotten. So
that's so good. I think it's such a I think too, it's like you start with something and it's like the trunk of the tree. and you've got your main thing, photography, and then all these other branches start to reveal themselves as you meet this person, as you start that job. Then someone asks you, can you do this? And you go, hang on a minute, I'll think about it. And then it kind of mushrooms a lot of its own accord. The things reveal themselves, and you can say yes or no. But I like how you said there were certain things you did just for money, and it was like, no, that didn't really work, or not really interested. And when you can make decisions based on, let me do things that I really enjoy and with people I really like, that is an amazing freedom. Once you get enough movement and enough money and you're financially a bit more stable, you can make those decisions. And it's so good to get out of bed, and there's not one person you have to deal with that you don't like in the workplace.
Oh my God.
I mean, that is the gold. That's gold.
Best. I got out of a couple of things that weren't going that direction, and I was like, I'm just never going to do that again. I don't have to do that. I'm not going to work with people that I don't love, and I'm not going to work on an idea that doesn't get me fired up. It just doesn't.
That's it. Yeah. So can I ask you too, going back to before you met your wife, were you having thoughts, because that's a whole other area that's obviously contributed to your business. Did you want someone that was creative as well? Did you want someone who was understanding of your creative nature, or did it matter at all? Where were you at?
Well, if I think about myself at that age, I felt very immature for whatever age I was at when I met her. My dating life before that was actually interesting. I was with one woman who I was with on and off for about 12 years, and I just finally had enough with her, and I just, one day I was just like, this is over, I'm done. And it was just because it was the new millennium back then. And I was like Y2K was going on, and I woke up on January 1st, and I was like, this is not the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. And I broke up with her that day. Yeah. And I met my wife on January 16th. So sometimes you just got to kick something out that's working. And that is going to, Bob would say, it would create a vacuum, which is a space for you to attract the person that is right. So, but I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I mean, I look back at my, the kid that I was then, and I'm really proud of how I've grown and come out of my shell and become the person and the human being that I am. I'm very proud of that. I do some work in that department, and I just think one of the things that I don't know, I got to photograph Tom Bilyeu, who's an influencer out there, and Tom says one of the most important things is like yourself when you're by yourself. I always like that. I was like, I like myself. I like myself when I'm by myself. So, and I look back at the kid that was that age, and I was like, I was just in a frenzy, and I wasn't, mature enough to really know what was going on. So I feel very fortunate that my wife did come into my life and that she's amazing. So
that's nice. And you've been together, well, your kids are 20, so you've been together at least 20 years?
Yeah. We've been together 23 now. Yeah. The kids are 20. So, yeah.
Wonderful.
We've been married. We're coming up on our, 2023, 22nd anniversary. I just got a reservation at this fancy schmancy place with where the chef it's probably one of the most famous, most awesome restaurants in New York City. And I shoot a lot of chefs. So here's another perk. So I was like, all right, we got to take some picture, but you got to get me this reservation for my anniversary. So,
nice. Yeah. So she has no idea.
No, I told her. Yeah,
you did? Okay.
Because she's been wanting to get into this place forever, and we never got into the restaurant is like, it's one of those that you have to, the minute that they release it a month before the date, you got to get in there and get the reservation, and in the first 30 seconds or you're screwed. And it never worked out. We've been twice, but not to the restaurant. There's like a little bar that you can get into. If you get in within the first minute, you can get in the bar, but 30 seconds you got to get into and I never I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
So
No,
anyway,
no.
that's how I met this chef, and he wants to photo. Cameras open doors in
Yeah, I
all
bet.
walks of life. Like, and I'll
Mm.
photograph. People know me. I'll run around and people yell. I have this trademark word that I yelled at in a video I did. I say shebang, and I just said it because I took a good picture. So I yelled shebang, and now I was in the airport coming back from Houston yesterday, and this guy, hey shebang, and I was like, hey. I was like, everybody yells shebang at me, so it's like it's funny. I don't know how I brought that
Uh,
up, but that was just like, it's
yeah.
like, so anyway, I was just saying it opens doors. So I've been yelled at, shebang, and then people are like, hey, like for instance, I'm a big football fan here in the United States, not football as soccer, football as American football, and
Yeah.
um and I got fortunate enough to get on the side of the field and photographing. I don't photograph sports, but the
Ah.
photographers there will be like, shebang, what are you doing here? I don't know. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. So it's cool. It's cool. I just think
Uh,
it's so cool.
that's great. It sounds like you have a lot of fun wherever you go, and that is just it's not always like that in life. So when you do get those long stretches of time where you're having fun, and then that overflows into your work, and then that overflows onto your family and onto your bank account and all these things, it doesn't get better than that. Doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't. I feel about it.
Well, it's been great to hear your story. I'm going to put down below the links that you will send me of anything where people can contact you for all these different things that you mentioned. And have you got any words? There are many people struggling in jobs they don't like, hating what they do, not earning enough money. What would you say to that person?
I think you have to search. You got to do a soul search for what you love, and you just got to do that in your spare time. You just have to figure out what it is, and then you'll figure out how to monetize it. Like, I
Yeah.
love sailing. If I wasn't a photographer, I would have figured out how to monetize sailing somehow. But now I go sailing all over the world, and I just throw a workshop to pay for it. So it's like, it's awesome. It's just great. So it's just hard when you're in that mindset of things aren't going well. You're not being creative. You're in a job that you're just getting a paycheck and you're watching your watch throughout the day. It's just not ever going to be useful for you. So you got to get out of it, but you need an exit strategy before you go out that door, because if you don't have that income, it could be dicey. So I think we've all gone through this where we just don't know what fires us up. Like, what is it that we love? What is it that we want to do? I mean, there's a lot of it's a big planet. There's a lot of stuff to do. Figure out what you love, and then just get started in that. And the thing about today is that, I mean, you have to be a little bit outgoing, but people can actually view you doing your thing if you actually allow people in. You can start I'm big on Instagram. You could do stories. Like, I do dumb stuff of me doing whatever dumb stuff I'm doing. I walked around in a Walmart after having a couple beers the other day, and people loved it. They're laughing at me. I was talking about like cereal and like candy, and I was like, my wife's like, okay, that was funny. You can keep it, because if I she's usually like, you got to take that down. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yes.
But if you love something and you video yourself and you throw it out to the internet, like, you never know who's going to be like, oh, that's kind of cool. So there's always something you can do. But I think the soul searching to figure out what excites you, because the excitement part, if that's not there, you won't follow through with it. Yeah. So I think that's the best advice I could give. Just you got to find the thing that fires you up, and everybody's got one.
That's true.
You don't have one, you got to find one, because there's something out there. I mean, you're on this planet for however long you're here. You might as well occupy your time and enjoy it.
Yeah. And that thing that you find, like with you, like with me, what you start off in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, the common denominator might be similar, as in it's a creative pursuit, but it might be that you went from acting and then you went, the sailing, and then this. You've had three very creatively fun things to do, but there comes a point where sometimes those things stop working or something happens. So it's okay to change. It's okay to use your creative skills and to go into something new. I mean, the whole working remotely and working from home, that's allowed so many people to, whether it's scientific or creative or tech or whatever, this has opened up a whole new world in the last probably, I don't know, 10 years, that this is so many people's lives now. And I mean, I never would have thought I'm going to work from home and I'm going to work on a computer. I was, a stylist for big shopping centers and doing interior design stuff. And then I worked for Walt Disney painting cartoons. And it's interesting, you talking. Yeah, that was really fun. And then I had a dance show that toured schools out in the outback of Australia to a lot of the remote communities. So like you, I've had kind of three jumps, and they're three totally creative things, but unrelated. And my father was a boat builder. So you talking about boats. Yeah, cool. He was he built boats from scratch when we lived in Canada.
Oh my God.
And so his thing was sailing. He was a very quiet introvert, and the happiest he ever was when he was on the ocean. So it's watching create, and he was a sculptor. So I grew up with creative parents that no one ever said, oh, you can't do that, get a real job. No one ever said that in my house because they were all like, hey,
get ready.
If I'd said I want to be a doctor or a lawyer, they would have gone, what are you doing that for? That would have been the response I got for something like that. But
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Peter. It's been honestly just lovely to hear, and I loved hearing the progression. And also you started off with one thing, and then I'm glad you brought up that thing of multiple sources of income. Even though you've got one hat, which is photography, there are different ways within that umbrella that you can do different things. So if people are watching this.
Yeah, I loved what you said about the mushrooming and the things going on, and then the tree branches and stuff, but that was it. You did it perfectly. That's it. The roots are planted, and then and then when I went off and there was something that didn't fit on the branch, it just doesn't fit. And
Yeah. Yeah, so. That's true. And I think what's great is, for you and for me, not everything we try works. Not everything we do is successful. Like sometimes you've got to adjust or morph it or go, hang on, how can I look at this differently or whatever? And we are learning and evolving with our creativity as we get older, as we get more knowledge, more connection with people that do things differently. It's an ongoing.
Don't give a fuck about what other people say. Am I allowed to swear? You get older and you're like, oh, I don't care about that anymore.
Peter, what year are you born? What
70.
You're born in the 70s. Okay, so you're younger than me.
Oh wow. Well, you're not that far ahead of me. Come on.
I'm 56.
Wow. Okay. You got me by 3. Yeah. My wife is, you're my wife's age. Yeah.
Well, there you go. What do they call it? Carbon dating. Carbon dating. The timestamp. Yeah. I thought because we were doing this today, I'd wear my nice 70s. I'm resuscitating the 70s today.
I like it. You got such a great look. I love it. The wild hair with the fur going on. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it's still a bit cold. I don't know about New York, but London's still a bit, well, for me, I'm used to really warm weather. Bit chilly. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I will put down below how you can find Peter, all the different things he does, and how you can connect with him. And thank you, Peter. Do you want to say goodbye to everyone? And then we'll say bye in private.
Sure, guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you got something out of it. And yeah, if it stimulated any of your brain, go do what you figured out that you love to do. You got to do it. Go.
Lovely. Thank you everyone for joining us. And as always, I will see you in the next YouTube. Mm.